May 12, 2025. The Western Pacific. The night sky above the Taiwan Strait was unusually quiet. Too quiet. A warm wind rolled off the Fujian coast, carrying the hum of engines that had been running since midnight. At 4:37 a.m., Taiwan's early warning radar in Hualien picked up multiple fast-moving objects emerging from the Chinese mainland. Contacts confirmed. A voice crackled across the comms, bearing 142 to 215. Multiple launch signatures, sea and air. At first, the operators thought it was another routine drill, but within minutes, the pattern changed. Dozens of J-15 fighter jets and H-6 bombers were crossing the median line, something Beijing had not done at this scale before. And behind them, deep in the East China Sea, two Chinese aircraft carriers, the Shandong and Fujian, were steaming east with full battle groups. By 5:10 a.m., the screen in Taiwan's Joint Operations Command Center lit up red. 16 Type 052D destroyers, 12 frigates, and at least 4 amphibious landing ships were pushing toward the north and south of the island in a coordinated movement pattern that analysts immediately recognized. It wasn't just a show of force, it was an encirclement. Inside the underground command bunker in Taipei, General Wang Xiao looked at the live satellite feed with a grim face.
"This is not a drill," he said. "Activate phase red protocols." Across Taiwan, sirens wailed.
F-16V Falcons and Mirage 2000S roared into the sky from Hualien and Chiayi air bases. Civilian air traffic was halted, and naval units began dispersing to secondary ports to avoid being trapped. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, the world's most powerful navy was already on the move. At 6:02 a.m., aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt, 400 miles east of Taiwan, an encrypted message flashed across the Combat Information Center. Flash Priority, Alpha, multiple Chinese surface groups maneuvering east of Taiwan. Intelligence confirms large-scale coordinated operation under codename Joint Sword 2025. Activate Freedom Shield Protocol. Immediate intercept course toward the Luzon Strait rear. Admiral Jonathan Kane, commander of the U.S. 7th Fleet's Carrier Strike Group, stepped onto the bridge. Set Condition 1 throughout the ship, he ordered. All stations to battle readiness. Get the Hornets armed and in the air. At 6:18 a.m., the deck crew began launching AHO-FA, 18 Super Hornets armed with IM-120D missiles and AGM-88 AAR pods, ready for electronic warfare suppression if the Chinese radar network came online. Simultaneously, two E-2D Hawkeye early warning aircraft took off, followed by P-8 Poseidon patrol planes to track enemy submarines lurking beneath the waves. The USS Higgins and USS Dewey, both Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, broke formation and accelerated toward the Bashi Channel, the narrow corridor separating Taiwan and the Philippines. That choke point would soon become the front line between two nuclear-armed powers. By 6:40 a.m., Chinese Y-9 electronic warfare aircraft were already jamming civilian GPS signals in Taiwan's southern region. Communications interference spiked. "Navigation's fuzzy," a Taiwanese pilot radioed as his F-16 climbed through a wall of clouds. "I'm getting spoofed coordinates." Meanwhile, over the Pacific, an eerie calm settled aboard the Roosevelt. Every radar operator knew what was coming next. China's gray zone tactics had just gone full color. Aboard the PLA carrier, Fujian, Admiral Zhang He was briefed on the American response. His officers reported the Roosevelt's flight deck activity and the U.S. destroyers moving into the Bashi Channel. "Maintain course," Zhang said coldly. "Initiate shadowing pattern. We'll box them in." As the sun crept above the horizon, 3 Chinese Type 055 Renhai-class destroyers powered up their fire control radars. Their beams locked briefly onto the Roosevelt's escorts, just long enough for American sensors to detect it. On the Roosevelt's bridge, alarms screamed. "Target illumination detected," shouted the electronic warfare officer. Admiral Kane stared at the display.
"They're painting us," he muttered. "They want a reaction." Instead of flinching, the Admiral issued a measured response.
"Launch 2 Growlers. Light up their radar back. If they want to play signal chess, let's make the next move loud." Moments later, EA-18G Growlers, the Navy's electronic attack jets, screamed off the deck. Within minutes, the Chinese radars began to flicker and fade. It was a digital standoff fought in invisible frequencies, but beneath the surface, another layer of danger brewed. U.S. Navy sonar operators aboard the USS Dewey picked up the unmistakable acoustic profile of two Chinese Type 093A nuclear submarines trailing the fleet at a depth of 400 feet. Contact bearing 208, range 12,000 yards. Possible SSN, reported the sonar tech. Mark and Shadow, the commander replied.
We keep eyes, not torpedoes, yet.
As day broke across the Pacific, Taiwan's coastline was now encircled by over 60 Chinese aircraft and 22 warships. Beijing declared the area a live-fire training zone, but everyone in the Pentagon and Indo-Pacific Command knew better. This wasn't a drill, it was a rehearsal for war. At 7:30 a.m., an emergency meeting was convened in Hawaii. U.S. Defense Secretary Laura Hartley issued the directive. If the blockade becomes total, the United States will intervene. The Free Pacific is non-negotiable. Back in the South China Sea, U.S. satellites recorded missile launchers being moved into firing positions along the Fujian coast, each capable of carrying DF-21D carrier killer missiles. The countdown to escalation had begun. As one American pilot described later, you could feel it. The sky itself was holding its breath. One wrong lock-on, one misread signal, and the Pacific would go up in flames. The world was watching. But for the men and women aboard the Roosevelt Carrier Group and Taiwan's coastal defenses, this wasn't geopolitics. It was survival. And as radar screens pulsed and engines thundered, one truth became clear. China had surrounded Taiwan. The United States was moving in, and the next few hours would decide whether peace would hold or history would burn. May 12th, 2025, 0812 hours, Western Pacific. The sea was glass still beneath a rising sun, but inside the Combat Operations Center of the USS Theodore Roosevelt, tension was thick enough to feel. On the tactical screen, China's encirclement was now complete. A steel ring of destroyers, frigates, and aircraft carriers forming a wall around Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Sir, multiple radar illuminations from the Fujian and Shandong groups, reported the electronic warfare officer. Admiral Kane's jaw tightened. They're testing our reaction time. He turned to his strike commander. Get the strike package airborne. No weapons hot unless we're fired upon. We're not starting this, but we'll damn sure finish it if they do. At 0819 hours, 12 FA-18E, Super Hornets, and 2 EA-18G Growlers roared off the Roosevelt's deck, banking east toward Taiwan's southern airspace. They flew low, tight, and silent, every jet's radar in passive mode, guided by E-2D Hawkeye surveillance aircraft circling at 25,000 feet. On the other side, Chinese J-16 fighters streaked in from the west, armed with PL-15 long-range missiles. Their pilots had orders to escort and warn, not to engage yet. For the next 11 minutes, both formations danced across invisible lines. Dozens of radar locks flickered, disengaged, then reappeared. It was the modern equivalent of two gunslingers staring down each other's barrels, fingers already on the trigger. 8:34 hours, Taipei Command Bunker. Taiwan's president was briefed on a classified transmission from the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. A single message: Phase 2, contingency, green light pending. It meant the U.S. was ready to move from deterrence to direct counteraction if one more Chinese vessel crossed the median line. General Wang Hexiao turned to his advisors. Begin civilian port lockdown. Prepare Patriot and Skybow batteries for active defense. We'll match every move they make. At 0852 hours, Taiwan's radar operators detected an alarming signature: DF-21D anti-ship ballistic missile transporters mobilizing near Fuzhou. The carrier killer. Satellite footage confirmed what the Pentagon feared. Two launchers were being readied on the coast. If even one missile was fired, the entire standoff would ignite within seconds. 9:03 hours, the Bashi Channel. The USS Dewey and Higgins destroyers detected missile preheat signatures from the Chinese coastline. Possible DF series ignition. Coordinates 25 degrees north, 119 degrees east, said the sensor officer. Confirm range and prepare SM-6 intercept grid. The captain replied calmly. For 30 tense seconds, the world held its breath. Then, confirmation came in, false start. The launchers had powered up, then shut down, possibly as a warning. But Washington didn't take it as one. 0927 hours, Indo-Pacific Command, Hawaii. The room was silent as U.S. Defense Secretary Laura Hartley gave a single, cold directive: deploy Operation Iron Wave. We'll make our position clear, visually, decisively, and lawfully. Within minutes, orders were transmitted to Carrier Strike Group 9. The Roosevelt's deck came alive. A dozen F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters were armed with AGM-158 CLR-ASM, long-range anti-ship missiles designed to strike with surgical precision from 500 miles away. 9:52 hours, the Pacific sky. 3 F-35s flew low and fast toward the eastern edge of Taiwan's ADIZ. Their mission, show of force. But midway through, they picked up radar locks from Chinese destroyers 40 miles north. Hostile radar tone, multiple locks, one pilot called out. Copy, the squadron lead replied. Maintain formation, do not engage. Seconds later, Chinese radar illumination intensified, full fire control lock, and that's when the US made its move. Authorization green came through the comms. In one synchronized burst, 2 U.S. destroyers and 1 cruiser activated Aegis combat mode. Their SPY-6 radars pulsed across the South China Sea, tracking every Chinese vessel within 200 miles. Simultaneously, the Roosevelt launched 4 P-8 Poseidon aircraft loaded with Harpoon Block 2+ missiles, a signal that if the blockade crossed the line, the U.S. would strike within minutes. On Chinese channels, the message was received loud and clear. 10:16 hours, PLA Eastern Theater Command, Fuzhou. Chinese Admiral Zhang, who received the Pentagon's signal intercepts through his aide. His response was brief: hold all fire, continue encirclement, no first strike, but it was already too late to calm the sea. 10:24 hours, 47 miles south of Taiwan, a Chinese frigate, Yuncheng 571, miscalculated its position and crossed the median line, breaching Taiwan's recognized defensive boundary. Within 90 seconds, 2 Taiwanese F-16Vs locked on with AIM-120 missiles. They didn't fire, but the lock itself was enough. The Roosevelt's operations room lit up in red. Hostile unit inside defense grid. Confirm incursion. Confirmed, sir, replied the radar officer. Chinese vessel crossed the line. That's when Admiral Kane gave the order that would echo across the world. Launch intercept strike drones. Make it visual. Make it impossible to ignore 6 MQ-9B Sea Guardians lifted from Guam at high altitude, streaming directly toward the Chinese fleet. Each drone broadcast live visual feeds of Chinese destroyers and carriers maneuvering near Taiwan's coast. The footage went public within minutes, broadcast globally by defense monitors and media outlets. The world now saw what had been hidden for hours: China's full encirclement of Taiwan and the U.S. counter-deployment already in place. 11:02 hours, the line holds. For the next 40 minutes, tension rippled across the Pacific. Every jet, every destroyer, every submarine stood one command away from ignition. Then, without warning, a sonic boom shattered the silence. 2 Chinese J-16s streaked past an American UEF A-18 formation at supersonic speed, just 200 meters apart. The shockwave rattled cockpits and radar domes. One pilot's response came through clenched teeth. They want a spark, but we're not going to give them fire. Not yet.